Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope all of you are doing good. It's hot here in Michigan. What about where you guys are at? Sound off in the comments and let me know where all of you live. And this is a good thing. Let each other know where you're at because we need to stand together against all of this tyranny. Now, I put in the title of this video, of this live stream, podcast, for those of you who listen to it on replay. So shout out to everybody who's live tonight and shout out to all of the replay viewers. Coming to your state, and let me say this real quick. I hope it doesn't. I truly do. But what I'm about to talk about is part of the national gun grab, gun control, which, look, when you say gun control, the operative word is not gun, it's control. This is human control. And they want to control you. But this is part of the national agenda. And it's here in Michigan right now. And I'm calling it the Michigan Ministry of Gun Control. And it's here right now. It literally quietly. It came out yesterday. None of the news wanted to cover it. Shout out to my wife who noticed it and told me. And I posted it initially to X and the YouTube community tab. And then I posted it on Facebook as well. And getting quite a bit of retweets or reposts and comments. Lively discussion going on X. So make sure you're following me over there. And I'm glad that this is getting some attention because the other side, they always have the cameras playing when they want to put their agenda forth. And it takes just guys like me and guys and gals like you all just sitting in my shop. I'm a landscaper. I was out cutting grass earlier today. It rained for a while, then it didn't rain, just trying to survive. And you know what? We're actually more important than the mainstream news, than all of these celebrities out there. And we're the ones that actually matter the most, more than all of these politicians. But that's only if we start asserting ourselves and only if we treat ourselves like we matter. And all of you are very important. And I want you to remember that. And we need to stand together. Look, if we don't stand together, we're all going to certainly hang separately. And that's how the founding fathers looked at the invention of this republic, this experiment on self-governance that would become these United States of America. And right now we're living in a time where the United States is becoming more dangerous in so many ways than ever before. And at the same exact time, the government is going rogue and overreaching, trying to intrude on all aspects of your life at this point. They're in your bedroom. They're in your kitchen. They're following you on the streets. We live in a police state and we live in a big government state. And now more than ever before, we need all of us. And that's what I'm challenging all of you to do, is have these conversations with your friends and family. Because the United States has fought in many wars to fight off communism and to fight off Big Brother. And that's why this is a Michigan Executive Order 2024-4, Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. And they're issuing it under the authority of the Department of Health and Human Services, which is literally crazy. And I call it the Michigan Ministry of Gun Control because this is stuff that reminds me of the Soviet era. That reminds me of so many things that are completely and utterly repugnant to the Constitution of the United States of America. And they're repugnant to Americans. Look, guys, our government's rogue in so many ways, but I think you can be ticked off at your government, but still love all your good fellow Americans. And that's what's going on right now, but they're trying to come after all of us. And these people are literally crazy, but they're trying to make you think that you're crazy for actually believing in the core fundamentals of the Bill of Rights, of the United States Constitution, and of the Declaration of Independence. And this is part of a world agenda. It's part of a national agenda, but it's part of a world agenda where they want to reduce freedom and they want to reduce liberty. And you know, I love the Bill of Rights. I do, all of it. I love the original Constitution. I love the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. After the Bill of Rights, I believe they started tearing down our country, actually. But up to the 10th Amendment, the 10th time it was amended, ratified, those First Amendments, known collectively as the Bill of Rights. These are not rights issued by government. These are the laws of nature and of nature's God. These are endowed by your creator, is what Thomas Jefferson said on July 4th, 1776, which we're going to be celebrating the anniversary of that in less than 2 short weeks here. In 1791, the United States of America enumerated. They told the government, don't tread on me, shall not be infringed. Congress shall pass no law, and no soldier shall be quartered. And they reminded us that the federal government is supposed to have very few powers. The states would have a little more power than that, and we the people are supposed to ultimately hold the lion's share of all of the power. That we would just delegate a little bit to our states and barely any at all to the federal government. Well, I love that whole Bill of Rights. Very well thought out. And I would love to live in a country where that's still the supreme law of the land. But I like the Second Amendment just a little bit more than all the rest. It's hard to really say like you like one more than the other because these are beautiful documents, but the Second Amendment is just a little bit more important because it wasn't put there for if, but for when. They come for all the rest, and they have been coming for all the rest, and they are right now, and they're not slowing down. They're only just speeding up. And as this government's trying to, quote, keep us safe, they're making it more dangerous for us than ever before. Our country's being invaded right now. Being invaded by foreigners, foreign invasion, more than what we've ever had. There's millions and millions coming in. Look, there's good immigrants, and God bless all of you who are good immigrants that love America and are being the best darn Americans you can be. Welcome. I wish we could have some more like that, and then the ones who love communism could move to a communist country. I'd take that trade any day, but here's the problem right now. This border's under attack. This country's under attack. You can't even have a country without borders. Literally. That's part of what makes a country is having a border. Obviously. But no. Many of these other countries, most of them, they're not sending their best. They're emptying out their prisons. We see violence at all-time highs. We have crises to do with things like fentanyl and all of the associated crime that goes along with the dealing and distribution of such lethal poisons in this country. And right at the same time that all of this is happening, and I'm pretty sure this is more than just anecdotal, it's just a coincidence to a EDU, right? But right at the time that this country's going to hell real quick, they're coming after our guns like they never, ever, ever have before. Now, I know someone's saying, but hold on to AEDU. Is there an assault weapons ban coming? Actually, it's on the table in Michigan. I'm going to talk about that as we go further on. Because this Michigan Ministry of Gun Control isn't just a Michigan issue. This is part of the national and international agenda. It would actually be better for us right now. Now, someone's going to snip this, and that's fine. You can. People who know me would know to come over and watch the channel, and I suggest you guys share this video with your friends so more people can talk about this important stuff. But look, it would actually be better for us right now if they said, here's a bill, it's been submitted, it's been passed, and the current former vice president signed it, all guns are banned, turn them all in right now. Now, hold on, you guys can chime in all you want, but I think you know me better than this. Now, look, that would be terrible, obviously, but that would actually be better than this crap they're up to right now. Because if they were to just come out and say, we're coming for all your guns right this minute. Now, we don't want them coming after anything. None whatsoever. Shall not be infringed. Shall not comply. I encourage you all to stay strong. But then maybe we get some of these normies. For all you younger kids out there, I think you guys call it in the video game world, these NPCs. People just sitting up there taking up pixels on a screen. What way did the wind blow? I don't know. Where's my game? Where's my whatever? Who am I? What's going on? You guys know the type, right? They're all over this country. Maybe they finally wake up just a little bit and say, no, how dare you? And maybe we could put a stop to this, but that's not what they're doing. They're determining guns to be a health crisis. Look at this Michigan executive order right here. This is a new task force. This is a new bureaucracy. This is a new pseudo branch of government, if you will. has just been formed by executive order. I didn't vote on this so-called gun violence prevention task force. Did you? Well, that's actually just a hyperbolic question because, of course, you didn't vote on this. Nobody voted on this. The governor of Michigan, oh boy, this is a family-friendly channel, guys, because you guys can choose when you want swear words to be introduced into your home. And I do want children to watch this and listen to this because we need our children to be educated and understand America, but they call her many things, right? The governor of Michigan, I'm just going to say she's a real beauty. And when we say that in a different kind of way, she just created this with a stroke of a pen. 1 page long, 2 pages, 3, 4, 5, 6, goes on to the 7th page. We're going to go through some of this, and I know a lot of you don't live in Michigan, and shout out to all the Michiganians out there, by the way. Sound off wherever you're from. Seriously. Shout out to all of these 50 United States, and shout out to my friends who live in other countries that totally get it. There's people that like totally get it in every country of the world, and you guys are awesome too, but especially my Michiganians. Shout out in the chat. But if you're in another state, don't just dismiss this topic and say, oh, well, Michigan just sucks. I'm just going to move to whatever. What's happening, crazy heathen? We got Dale, Jane. Wow, nice people in the chat from Michigan I'm seeing there. Look, guys, this is either already in your state or it's going to be coming soon because this is part of the national and actual international agenda. So we're going to get into this and do a deep dive and analyze just some of these principles. And this is literally insanity. Like I promise you guys, if you're in Michigan and you're never even going to come here, you're going to want to stay tuned because this is the fundamental way that they're trying to change America. And this is their master plan where they're trying to completely and utterly destroy the Second Amendment and all of the rest of them that the Second Amendment defends. There's a bump stock ban. We're going to talk about that. That's coming to Michigan and other states, and they're trying to ban them federally after we just had the Supreme Court say you can't ban them. Not machine guns. We'll talk about that for a little bit. Also, we had a loss today in the United States Supreme Court. This is the so-called Rahimi case. And I'm not going to read the whole 103-page, but I am going to read you guys just a little bit of it. And boy, oh boy, is the leftist judges, the activist judges who are trying to rewrite law and shred the Constitution from the bench. This is going to give them a big, wide opening, big enough to drive a Mack truck through. And yeah, I think we just took a pretty big loss at SCOTUS today, really. Now, we're going to try to find some silver linings, but yeah, we're going to get into that in just 1 minute. What's happening, Abster Bone? How you doing, man? Hey, look, guys, head over to X. Make sure you follow the 2A EDU account. I'm posting more there now because it seems to be pretty good. My wife, Linda, who helps me with that account, said maybe it was just an error last week and they didn't actually remove my post. But so far, they seem pretty censorship-free. So follow me on X. While you're there, go take a look at my friend Abster Bone. You can see him in the chat right here. AVSTER Bone. He does a lot of stuff on Twitter. He's in Michigan. I hung out with him just yesterday at the Josh Powell event. So go give him a follow over on Twitter because the man's busting his butt. And there's not a lot of us here in Michigan doing this. So make sure you guys head over there. Follow people like me first and foremost, right? Hook your boy up with some followers. Not because I care about the numbers, just because like we need to get these messages out when I'm breaking news like this executive order. Check out Abster Bone, Phoenix Ammunition, Brendan Boudreaux. The 4 of us are all friends, and just we need to be in this together. So make sure you guys are running over to X. And yeah, if you could just type your @ in there, Avi, I pronounce my vowels a little bit different. But go over there and you probably can't do @ or it's a link. Just type in enough in the chat here where they can go follow you over on X. But yeah, good to see you too yesterday. All right, we're going to get into all this. But before we do, I want to thank all of you guys for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to all the channel members out there on YouTube, which you guys have custom emojis, right? You guys have custom emojis. and you can do the appeal to heaven. Hey, look, I'm flying my American flag upside down because she's under duress. So you guys get access to those extra emojis there, as well as extra content. Also over on Patreon, where I provide extra content for supporters, as well as locals, which is another site, censorship free. I actually do an extra live stream there every Saturday night where we can actually touch and show guns, because we don't have the terms of service that we do here on YouTube. So definitely check that out. And it's a way you can support as well. Those of you who leave generous super chats here, thank you so much. You guys are literally my sponsors. I'm like as grassroots as it gets. I've got links you guys can use to help support the channel and the ways that I just mentioned. Now, speaking of super chats, this is from 2 weeks ago, but I felt so bad because he left it right at the end, and it was just as I was saying goodbye. But shout out to our friend Richard Denny, who I saw in the chat earlier tonight. There he is. Richard Denny left a super chat 2 weeks ago. I always want to thank everybody publicly when I do that. So thank you for leaving that super chat at the very end of that live stream 2 weeks ago. I could see it in my log afterwards, but I felt so bad that you were generous and I didn't get a chance to thank you. Crazy Heathen, are you on X as well? Then definitely go over there and follow Crazy Heathen, who I've shouted out many times. I know Crazy Heathen's on YouTube for sure. So shout out, man, who's done a lot. Lots of boots on the ground stuff. Him and his boys, these guys are tough too. You wouldn't want to mess with them. Ask Jane Locke, she'll tell you. Jane Locke and Crazy Heathen, you don't want to mess with these guys. Good dudes though. Dudes and gals, right, Jane? And yeah, definitely give him a follow and appreciate all you've done in the state of Michigan, man. When these guys walk in, you're like, maybe. No, they're actually really, really good guys, but don't mess with them. Tell them you know me. It'll cut you a little bit of slack, but not much. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, those guys are always regulars at our different rallies and stuff that we do in Michigan. Also, check out Myriad Social. The link's down there in the description. That's not just a censorship-free site, but it's actually an uncensorable site. Myriad.social. Go check out my timelines over there where I post events like the one I was literally just at yesterday. Also, there's like awesome deals for stuff that we're not going to talk about here because we're on YouTube, but it'll help you guys a lot, I promise. So go make yourself an account over there or just check it out. You can go view my different timelines on my Myriad Social page, which is down there in the description. And I hope to see more of you guys over there because we like censorship free and we also like uncensorable. And that's what Myriad Social is. It's actually on the blockchain where the CEO, who's actually like really cool dude, like, look, he couldn't even ban me off of there, which that's actually kind of really cool. And we need to start using technology like that. So, this starts off with so many lies. And these lies literally require the listener to be dumber than the speaker. But I want to discuss some of this because this is literally crazy. And I want you guys to chime in as much as you possibly can because you'll help me keep my sanity. And maybe we can all fight back together. It starts off by saying gun violence is a uniquely American problem. Except for that's not actually true. None of that's true. Let's just start off with the very first way this starts, gun violence. All right. I'm going to give you guys a teaser. Make sure you come back to my channel tomorrow. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you put on your notifications because my state representative, her name's Jamie Thompson. I'm like super, super lucky that she literally happens to be my state representative. But in my opinion, this is the best and certainly my favorite representative in all of Michigan, okay? Some people are even starting to say maybe one of the best in the whole country, and I agree, actually. She just did an awesome video that puts all of this into perspective. She sent it to me, and I'm going to incorporate it in a video and play it right here tomorrow. So this reminds me of what she said. Look, she's shredding all of this stuff. Gun violence. There's no such thing as gun violence, first of all. A gun is an inanimate object. And a gun's actually not good or evil. A gun doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have a soul. It's not actually alive at all. A gun is a tool. And there's bad, deranged, evil people who use guns to commit atrocities. And that's completely unacceptable. Thou shalt not murder. I don't know what religion all of you guys are, but that's one of the most universal things among any decent person. Sound off in the chat how you look at it spiritually, but I guarantee you everybody here believes that you shall not murder somebody. Of course, like that's not even a debate, right? Well, you would think it wouldn't be, but this ties into all of this, and we're going to get into what's going on here because this stuff's pretty deep. It's pretty thick. Violent people do violent things. Evil people do evil things. And good people do good things. And what's crazy is many more times per year, good people with a gun use that firearm to protect good people than evil people use guns to take lives. But they won't publish that stat. And I guarantee you, they're not looking to find that with this new Ministry of Gun Control. No, it's going to be the complete opposite. Because when you're lied to the very first sentence of something, you know what you're in for. And this is literally insane. Gun violence is a uniquely American problem. In 2020, firearm-related incidents became the leading cause of death for all children and adolescents in the United States. And look, that's just not true either. What's happening, Rick? Nice to see you, man. Because in order to get that stat, my friend Mateo was reminding me of that age-old quote. Mark Twain. I'm going to say it here because we need to think about this. There's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics. You give a statistician a narrative, and they can give you any statistic you want to fit that narrative. And in my opinion, that's what's going on here throughout this whole entire Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. Ugh. What do you guys think? Should we call it the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, Department of Health and Human Services? So let me know. Give me a 1 in the chat if you want me to call it that. Give me a 2 in the chat if you want me to call it what it really is. The Ministry of Gun Control. What do you guys like? 2A EDU, you have to stay more professional. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am here to present you today number 2024-4 Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. I don't think so. I wouldn't want to hang out with that guy either. But put a 1 in the chat if you want me to call it that, or a number 2 in the chat if you just want me to be honest and call it what the hell it is. This is a Ministry of Gun Control. This is deep state, and this reminds me like infinitely more of the USSR or Soviet Union than it does America. Because look, first of all, they're perverting these statistics from the very beginning, but I would note that they have to include up to 21-year-olds. So 20 years old and 364 days, they're now calling children. Now, wait a minute, some of you might say, and shout out to all of our veterans out there. How many of you guys went out there and got your hair chopped off and went overseas or not? And you enlisted in the Army or the Marine Corps or the Air Force or the Navy, Coast Guard. Shout out to you guys. Were you a child? You know, people vote when they're 18. People carry firearms that aren't even lawful unless you're rich and you own like a pre-May of 86, pre-Hughes Amendment machine gun. But you get to carry guns and fight, and God bless their souls, potentially die for your country with a firearm that's not even legal for civilians to own. That's an atrocity in and of itself. But you'd still be lumped in as a child. Now think about gang violence. Think about all these gangs that are getting imported from other countries. Think about fentanyl. Think about, what did Linda say, 100,000? 100,000 overdoses last year alone. Look, it's affected our family. It's affected probably your family. Is there even anyone out there that hasn't been affected by a drug overdose in this day and age? Like somebody you knew or someone that was part of your family? I don't even think it's possible anymore. It's so rampant. They're lumping in gang violence. They're lumping in 20-year-olds that are having shootouts every single night in the streets of places like Chicago. God bless all of you who live there, because it started to get the name Chirac because people went and served their country in Iraq, which was not a safe place to be. And they came home and they said, it's more dangerous now in the city of Chicago than it was. People have said it can be more dangerous in Chicago than certain parts of like Fallujah and stuff like that. I mean, it can be a war zone. They're lumping all of these stats in. So we need to know that, because I know a lot of you have like normie friends and your normie Aunt Flo or your mother-in-law, your whatever, and they're good people. And, you know, your mother-in-law, she makes a good apple pie, let's say, whatever, and you like them and you don't really want to just like have a knockdown drag out. But I'm trying to go in depth with all this so you guys can have things to say and have some conversations, because you're going to have people that are kind of like good people and stuff. Now, I could argue they're really not, because, like, if you still have your head up your you-know-what at this point, but I digress. We need to have these conversations with people where you're like, no, you can just step right in and say, no, that's actually not true. They're counting 20-year-olds in with children and adolescents. And it's literally insane. Now, I'm going to try to get through this, but it's like every single part of it's a lie and needs to be debunked. And we need to understand the philosophy behind this and what their strategy is with this. Rates of gun violence represent an ongoing public health crisis. Ding, ding, ding. Do you guys remember? Do you remember 4 years ago? Shout out to all of you who are still here watching this channel from 4 years ago. They called it many things. They called it the plague. I think I even heard somebody call it the Kung flu. It come in, right? Nobody knew what it was. 10 days to slow the spread, and 4 years later, now they're saying, well, this is just the new normal. Look at what people will do in the name of a public health crisis. That's what they're deeming. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed as a health crisis. No, that's supposed to be a commie crisis. And that is a commie crisis. A country where we the people have the right to keep and bear arms and it shall not be infringed. That is a crisis to their agenda. Make no mistake, but as the governor of Michigan, I'm glad this is a family-friendly channel because I really don't like to curse, so I'm glad I can't right now, but they call her many, many things. Let's just leave it at that. Is now saying this is a public health crisis, one disproportionately impacting low-income and vulnerable communities. And that's actually not true either, because gun control laws actually impact the vulnerable and low-income communities. And if you look back at the history of the United States, the very first gun control laws were actually to deprive former slaves, colored people, of firearms. Actually, gun control has racist roots. Did you guys know that? No, it literally does. I could spend an hour and a half just talking about that tonight, but sometimes, this being 2A EDU, I give you guys homework assignments. Go look it up. We know who she's pandering to here. And boy, oh boy. Yeah, that's an insult to these people, because this is literally why gun control started in the United States. The very beginning of it. We must act to save lives and protect public safety. Even though more good lives are saved every year with defensive uses of firearms, sometimes just presenting the firearms enough. Look into Dr. John Lott. He wrote a book called More Guns, Less Crime. He's the leading statistician on all of this. He worked in the Trump administration, and I've met him personally, and it's a good book. I bought the book way before I met him personally. He literally completely and utterly unequivocally proves that that's not the case. Where there's more guns in the hands of good people, there is less crime. And criminals don't follow laws, so here we are. Michigan has one of the highest rates of gun violence in the nation. Tragedies at Michigan State University. Hold on right there. There's a sign on the door of every building and the campus generally that says no guns, that circle with the X. Some people call them gun-free zones. I like to be a little bit more pointed and call those what they really are. These are criminal empowerment zones. because these laws only affect the law-abiding. And while all the good law-abiding people choose not to carry their gun because they want to follow the law, the criminal, who by their very nature doesn't follow the laws, are the only ones that are armed. So yeah, in the criminal empowerment zone of Michigan State University, tragedy happened. It's true. This other one's going to remind me here soon. Who, by the way, the bad guy with the gun in the Michigan State tragedy had already been busted for firearms, breaking firearms, gun laws before that. And those laws did nothing. That's why I say get rid of every single gun law in Michigan and this whole country, because every dang last one of them are completely and utterly unconstitutional, and they don't work like at all. And we just keep seeing time and time and time again. And what's so insane is all these examples that they're listing right here of reasons why we need more gun control. These are actually perfect examples of why gun control doesn't work. And gun control makes it more dangerous. Just wait until I put out this video tomorrow. Literally. Representative Jamie Thompson, I have the file. I just didn't get time to convert it into a format because she sent me the raw footage from her phone. But I'm going to put it up on my YouTube channel. And like I said, make sure you guys have those notifications turned on. I want you guys to share the crap out of that video because, yeah, like she literally lets them have it. Oxford High School. Okay, Oxford High School. Another tragedy by somebody who had all kinds of mental problems. And our favorite state representative is going to do a great job in her video talking about what the root cause to all this is and what we might be able to do to fix it. And recently in Rochester Hills, that's another topic that we're going to address in a little bit. Look, I want to address all of these for like an hour because this is insane, but I do want to go through this just a little bit more. There's just a few sobering examples of what occurs when the root causes of gun violence are not addressed. We must honor, through action, all of those who have been harmed and that we have lost throughout our state. But they're talking about guns in the first sentence here, and that gun violence is a mental health crisis, but I've never, ever heard, even once so far, like this should be at the very, very beginning, mental health. Mental health is an American problem. I could see it starting off with that because it is actually. It's not mentally healthy that we've closed all of our insane asylums because this is just very unfortunate the way this works. And I believe God loves all of these people as much as me and you. But on a practical level, some people are twisted and they're damaged. Just unfortunately, sometimes that's the way people are made, and I don't like it. But some people really shouldn't be among us in free society. Should they be treated like a human being? Sure. It's really hard to do sometimes. It's really, really hard because there's these crazy tyrannical dictators that are trying to take away my natural right to defend my family and myself and my hometown and ultimately my country if need be, but trying to have love for everybody. It's hard, guys. It's really hard, but I try to love everybody. But look, some people, I'm sorry, but they just shouldn't be among us. You know what I'm saying? That's a great suggestion for you to do, man. I'm just going to do me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad you're enjoying the stream so far. You do it better than me, and I'm sure you'll have a great time. But they don't mention mental health even once. There's a lot to that. As a state, we have taken action to change laws and policy to address gun violence. Well, then none of this stuff should have just happened because I thought those gun control laws were going to stop all of this. We enacted common sense legislation supported by a majority of Michiganders, background checks, safe storage laws, extreme risk protection orders, and stronger gun penalties for those convicted of domestic violence. Additionally, we dedicated millions of dollars in our balanced bipartisan state budgets to school and community safety initiatives aimed at preventing future tragedies. as well as helping those impacted by gun violence heal. New offices have been formed and collaborations have begun, all with the goals of preventing future instances of gun violence from shattering more families, communities, and individuals. Let me know in the chat. You guys really just want me to read this to you? I doubt it. So I'm actually going to be me and comment on this because, like, literally, you just want me to read 7 pages to you? Does that sound like fun? Actually, you know, as the whole saying, Mateo, you know, when you throw a rock into a pack of dogs, you know which one you hit. The people in the chat saying just read the thing don't know how to read. Well, shout out to you guys that don't know how to read. But here's the problem. This is two-way EDU, not reading EDU. So you'll have to go to like the small, here you go, dude. Like I said, shout out to these people. Mike Sherman, shout out. Go to the little kids kindergarten channels on here. They'll literally teach you how to read. But the problem is I'm going to teach you about the Second Amendment and talk about important stuff tonight. And I'm sure you will appreciate it. You know what's funny, Mateo? I literally said, guys, go over to my X. Oh, boy. This is great. You can't even make this up. This is why we're in the shape we're in. Two-way EDU. Drop the link. Where's the link? All right, this is my sound effect. Rewind. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2A EDU show. This is how I started the stream tonight. I said, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to read a 7-page executive order. We're going to read it word for word. And then I said, go over to my X account where I literally posted this. Like, guys, come on now, guys. Come on. I don't know what more to do. I'll also post it on my Myriad social account. I'll also post it on my locals. I'll literally... All right, come on, guys. All right. Early returns on these investments across the state of Michigan have suggested early success, but there is more we must do to build a safer future for all Michiganders. Well, if these investments are working so well, all this gun control, then why did we just have this Rochester Hills incident? It's nice to be with you guys tonight. I don't even have like a Burger King sign behind me. These guys are in the chat right now. Shout out. They're like, but two-way EDU, I said extra pickle and no onion. You just gave me a normal amount of pickle. It's like, hey, we are in the shape we're in, aren't we? I'm ready to fight for this country, two-way EDU. Let's go. We're going to do this. Oh. Going over and clicking out a link. No, too much effort. I'm out. I said extra pickle. Could you read it a little faster? Oh, sure. Could you read it a little slower? Absolutely. Early returns on these investments across the state of Michigan have suggested early success, but there is more we must do to build a safer future for all Michiganders. We must evaluate what we have done, what we are doing, and what more we can do to reduce gun violence and save lives. Still haven't heard mental health yet. You know what I mean, crazy heathen. Creating a new statewide task force will continue the process of raising awareness of the unique causes of gun violence and help build more solutions to prevent future tragedies. Section 51 of Article 4 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963 declares the public health and general welfare of the people of the state of Michigan as matters of primary public concern. Well, here's what Article 1 Section 6 says, right? Every person has the right to keep and bear arms in defense of himself or the state. I wonder when they're going to mention that in here. Section 1 of Article 5. Ooh, they were really close. But this is Article 5 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963 vests the executive power of the state of Michigan in the governor. This isn't just a law. This is like a whole new branch of government that you can't vote on. Nobody voted on this, guys. Section 8 of Article 5 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963 places each principal department of state government under the supervision of the governor unless otherwise provided. What happened to at the consent of the governed? Section 8 of Article 5 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963 also obligates the governor to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Yeah, execute Article 1, Section 6. Acting pursuant to the Michigan Constitution of 1963 and Michigan law, I order the following. Number 1, creation of the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. A, the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, quotes, task force, is created as an advisory body within the Department of Health and Human Services, in quotes, the department. The department. The task force may include the following representatives from the executive branch of state government who, when serving, should take all appropriate action necessary to support the goals of this order. Now, this is, again, we haven't heard about mental health yet. This is all just about so-called gun violence, which is an oxymoron. Number 1, the chief medical executive of the state of Michigan. Ooh. Your right to keep and bear arms? And the chief medical executive of the state of Michigan in the same sentence? This sounds like some more Dr. Fauci BS, doesn't it? 1 representative from each of the following divisions within the department as designated by the director of the department. Subsection I, the Office of Community Violence Intervention. Subsection II, the Division of Chronic Disease and Injury Control. Section III, the Behavioral and Physical Health and Aging Services Administration, and IV, the Division of Victim Services. Section 3, the Director of the Michigan State Police. Oh, wait a minute now. You knew they were going to be chiming in. Remember, all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. That's what Chairman Mao said of China. Yeah. So here's the boys in blue with their guns. The director of the Michigan State Police or the director's designated representative from within the department. By the way, this sucks, but like the County Sheriff's Association of Michigan and the Association of Chiefs of Police of Michigan came right into the committee hearings last year when they passed those 3 major gun control packages and did support gun control. Does that mean every specific police officer supports gun control? No. Does that mean every single sheriff or deputy supports gun control individually on their own personal level? No. However, their bodies endorsed all of this gun control that we had last year. The political bodies, if you will, that represent them, that go to Lansing and say, we are here to testify on behalf of all of the policemen. We support gun control. We are here on behalf of all of the deputies, and we support gun control. I hate to tell you this, but I saw it with my own eyes. And if there's any good cops, deputies out there, you guys are probably way more frustrated with this than I am. I know that. The Michigan State Police is designated representative from within the Office of School Safety. Now, look, I know my friend Rick is actually a school safety officer and takes that job very, very seriously and wouldn't consider coming after your guns in a million years. And he's a policeman in a real small town not too far from here. And I would say for the most part, I mean, I wouldn't mess with him kind of thing, you know. Most of my friends are pretty tough if you guys haven't noticed this yet. I mean, I wonder why, right? But he's, for the most part, Rick's officer friendly. He'll help you change a flat tire, cross the road, and old lady cross the road, and he takes his job to help protect if there's some crazy person in that school extremely seriously. But this is different than that. This is them talking about bringing them in for the health epidemic of guns in Michigan. The superintendent of public instruction from the Department of Education or the superintendent's designated representative from within that department. So now we're bringing education into this. Okay. We're bringing the Department of Education into this. We're bringing specifically the Office of School Safety from the state police into this. Now, it looks like to me they're going to be trying to demonize our youth, or tell our youth, rather, and demonize guns to our youth. Here's Rick right here. I don't support gun control. I didn't get asked to come testify in Lansing. I know you didn't. I know what you would have said if you were, and you're probably just as ticked off as I am when again, I'm being very specific, guys, when they say the police support this, the sheriff support this. That's what they say, but that's I know you're working right now, Rick, but chime in as much as you want. Yeah, I know, fun to learn. I like Michiganian, not Gander, like you silly goose, Gander. I don't care for that either, actually. The director of the Department of Lifelong Learning, Education, Advancement, and Potential, or the director's designated representative from within that department. See, we're bringing more education into this. You know, I've been really big proponent of defunding and abolishing the U.S. Department of Education, and this is making me want to actually also abolish the Michigan Department of Education too. I believe at this point, if this is their agenda with our schools, they're bringing schools into it, not me. I'd rather have kids with no education at all. I mean, half my viewers can't even read from some of the chats earlier tonight. So we'd be better off if we just couldn't read than to have this kind of indoctrination. And I actually literally mean that. I would take free illiterate people over educated slaves any day of the week. Michigan Department of Indoctrination. And we are getting goosed, Pillbox. I agree. Boken came in with a super chat earlier. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Says DHS Intel Unit to target Trump supporters. We're already at war. Awesome channel, by the way. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I just wish more people understood that. I really do. Hoping soon they will. That's why I do these live streams. The director of the Department of Civil Rights, the director of the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. Hold on a minute. Now, I have met some veterans, in all fairness, that are pretty darn anti-gun. What do you guys think? Look, I don't care if you guys are a lifelong civilian, chime in. If you've served, especially chime in. Let me know. What do you guys think about that? Veterans out there, current military, enlisted men, officers, if there's any watching. The director of the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs is going to chime in. What's happening, Gail? Gail, teacher for many years, right? I agree. Close down the Department of Education and give all decisions to local communities as it used to be. Amen. Hear, hear, Gail. We need to get rid of almost all this crap. Speaking of people doing some good stuff on Twitter, while you guys are over there, following the people I shouted out earlier, check out Nevada Memes for Liberty, who is a 2A absolutist and a U.S. Army veteran. What do you think, man? What do you think? I'm laughing in a spicy, by the way. I'm not laughing like that you're a veteran. I'm like, what's this guy think about it? The director of the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. These people are crazy. In addition, the task force may include the following members from the community at large, each of whom shall be appointed by the governor. Did they just say from the community at large? Like this isn't. What's happening, Southpaw? I hung out with Southpaw yesterday. How you doing, man? Nice to see you. Southpaw's a good dude. An individual associated with a research institution that studies gun violence. Ooh, this is where it's getting spicy. See, if those guys could have just been a little bit more patient earlier, I was going to read to them. Come on, guys, I read. I even have a Hello Kitty sticker over here. That's how friendly I am. An individual with experience doing clinical work, specializing in suicide prevention. I saw it out of the corner of my eye earlier. Somebody said, a lot of these deaths where someone used a firearm are suicide, and that is a problem. And if I could cherry pick one thing, see, here's the problem, though. Why I agree with suicide prevention, and that's very, very important, and mental health is extremely important. We don't need to do suicide prevention under gun control. That's the problem. So while there is a need, and take the boot off the necks of the American people, and a lot of them would be a little bit happier. Maybe someone should say that to the governor. When it seems like the government's main goal in so many ways is to completely destroy your life instead of protect your natural rights, they shouldn't be surprised that there's all the problems there are. Or maybe that's just part of their plan the whole time. An individual with experience serving as a local school administrator. All right, Gail, here's where they're trying to bring it into the local community. They want to bring in local school administrators. An individual associated with an organization that provides community-level conflict mediation or violence intervention services. An individual with experience working with survivors of domestic violence and abuse. And I would note that domestic violence bill that passed in Michigan this past year, okay, that classified tons of new offenses as domestic violence, even if it doesn't involve violence at all. So there's a lot of people now in Michigan who are considered to be domestic violence abusers who really are bad people and that have done terrible things, obviously. But there's also a lot that actually never did anything violent at all. And that's the way these new laws have been rewritten, using words like domestic violence when they might have done something like a little bit wrong, but they never actually hurt anybody. Now, this one blows my mind. This one blows my mind. And if there's any Indians out there, chime in. Because this would have to be the last straw here. An individual with experience working within a tribal government. Now, hold on a minute. There's that old saying, and it's true. Sure, you can trust the government. Just ask an Indian, right? Is there any tribal governments in Michigan, and I hope there's none, and she just won't get anybody, that don't remember Wounded Knee? You guys know about Wounded Knee, right? Where the United States government came across some Indians that were armed. And if they would have fought, it would have been a fight. But instead, they convinced them, and I'm giving you the real abridged version. Go look it up, if you're curious, and I suggest you do. But somehow they negotiated to all be disarmed. And after they were disarmed, they smoked all of them. An individual with experience working within a tribal government. Could you imagine that? Wow. We'll have to see when this evolves and all these appointments get made. An individual with experience working with a community or faith-based organization. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of the churches lately. Not all churches, and hopefully not yours, that are starting to go for this agenda and banning guns and talking about gun violence epidemic. An individual who represents victims of gun violence. Back to that again, gun violence, not violent people violence. An individual is currently working as a prosecutor. Oh boy. Yeah. That's going to be unbiased. An individual who is currently working in local law enforcement. Wait a minute. I just read through that. Where's an individual that's part of a 2A advocacy group? Where's the An individual who says, quote, from my cold dead hands, why aren't they part of this? I thought they wanted this to be comprehensive. I thought they wanted this to literally represent the average community of people. None of my friends literally agree with any of this that was just said, but they want all of this, but I don't see anything there. Look, I know there's lots of pro-Second Amendment cops out there, but they're going to be able to find someone in law enforcement that's anti-gun, obviously. Look, this is the agenda that they're wanting to spread throughout the whole United States. She didn't just come up with this on her own. These are the usual national gun control groups that write these agendas and propagate this agenda. And this is their new game plan. Like I said when I started this stream, we'd actually be better off if they just came out right now and said, here's this new law, turn in every gun right now. That would actually literally get people off their butts enough where there's no way. People think there's no way. But instead, they're chipping away, making it a gun violence epidemic, indoctrinating our children through the schools, bringing in Michigan's Department of Health to go through all this. Yeah. It's actually pretty deep if you think about it. What's up, John Crump News? How you doing, man? No alert and had to go to your channel to see your content. Wow. Well, I don't know. I was polite and family friendly, but I said some not so nice, maybe somebody thought, about the governor of Michigan. So probably put me in the old shadow ban. So make sure you guys give it a thumbs up. Share the channel. Members of the task force appointed under Section 1B are ex officio members and serve at the pleasure of the governor. Oh, so even if somebody did get on this board, this task force, this new part of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the governor doesn't like what they have to say, she could get rid of them like immediately. Members of the task force appointed under the section shall serve for the duration of the task force at the pleasure of the governor. A vacancy on the task force shall be filled in the same manner with the original appointment for the remainder of the task force duration. The governor will select a chairperson for the task force from among the ex officio members. This person shall serve as chairperson for the duration of the task force at the pleasure of the governor. So she can have literally whatever she wants on this. We're going to get what they're going to be doing here in 1 second. The task force must act in an advisory capacity to the governor and to the director of the department. That's the Department of Health. On the root causes and possible solutions, that's the gun control laws, for gun violence in Michigan. This includes advising on prevention, intervention, and accountability, and equity-focused strategies. Whoa. Equity? Equity strategies? So this is like super woke, too. Well, obviously, it's woke, of course. With the goal of reducing the rates and instances of gun violence in Michigan. The task force must review, develop, and recommend laws, policies, and any other legally permissible actions. This is the one that said, this is the governor. When you think about this, any legally permissible actions, this is the one that said it was illegal to cut grass. It was illegal to get your hair cut. It was illegal to breathe fresh air. Yeah. So when we hear her saying any legally permissible actions, yeah, that's a whole new definition of legally permissible actions. To reduce the rates and instances of gun violence in Michigan, see, specifically the task force may take up the following actions: collect, compile, and report on data related to gun violence in Michigan and provide suggestions on how to improve the utility of such data. 2, identify the root causes and any contributing factors to gun violence in Michigan. 3, assess the effectiveness of existing gun violence mitigation measures and identify any gaps in current law. There's more gun control, practice, and or policy. Number 4, what's up, Shojas? Nice to see you, man. Identify resources that currently exist to assist with gun violence prevention. This includes any funding Oh, wait a minute. Funding? Is this a money laundering scheme? Fun to learn. I'm sure glad we paid for the luxury of the government. Hold on a minute, guys. You knew this was coming. Somebody knew this was coming. This includes any funding. Ooh, there you go. Guidance, best practices, and existing offices, commissions, and boards working on overlapping issues. Then develop strategies for maximizing these existing resources and enhancing opportunities for coordination. There's going to be lots and lots of money flowing through here is what we just heard. And where's that going to go? John Crump can't super chat. Well, I appreciate you trying, man. We did have one earlier tonight. And I appreciate you supporting. You've been a channel member for a long time on your other account. So thank you. Maybe that's why I haven't really had many super chats tonight. People can't. Well, check out my locals community, guys, where they do work there for sure. Recommend new changes to Michigan's law and policy across all levels of government with the goal of reducing the rates and instances of gun violence. Now, keep in mind the Democrats are in control of the Michigan House and control of the Michigan Senate. The governor, and she's the one that's ahead of all these bureaucracies, including this new bureaucracy that she just formed yesterday. So clearly, in my opinion, the ones that serve at the sole pleasure of the governor probably follow the governor's agenda, or they're actually like not there very long at all. And then they'll bring in somebody who will follow the orders. Do you guys remember that when there was a trial at a place called Nuremberg? And their defense was just following orders. And back then, they said that was not a valid defense. Is it a valid defense today? Just following orders, they say. And people actually say it more now than they ever have before. Establish a reasonable timeline for accomplishing goals and objectives to reduce the rates and instances of gun violence. That means a lot more gun control is coming very soon. Engage stakeholders like local government officials. See, here's where they're coming in your backyard. I've said it so many times. I was hanging out with one of my township trustees. His name is Chris Collins. He's an awesome dude this week. Just hung out with him 3 days ago. I was hanging out with my state representative, Jamie Thompson. I was hanging out with my Senator Joe Bellino, like face-to-face, actually talking to them. And I encourage all of you guys to do the same as much as you can, because this task force is coming right into your own town. Your hometown, here they come. Engage stakeholders like local government officials, individuals with relevant lived experiences related to gun violence. Oh boy. They just said with lived experiences, followed by equity. This thing's woke as a joke. Medical professionals, research institutions, law enforcement, and community organizations. Ooh, the old community organizers. To solicit their expertise and opinions to best inform the task force's mission. And I'm not done yet. Let's get into this next section. And it looks like super chats are working for some of you guys. So let me thank you guys real quick. We have Patrick Fellers who left a super sticker. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, dude. And I can't show the sticker itself on here, but I will check it out when I rewatch the YouTube chat later. Thanks, man. And Southpaw, thank you for the generous super chat and being a channel member. He says, more BS. Yes, sir. And this isn't the end of it. They're trying to pass a, quote, bump stock ban in Michigan, which will ban way more than just bump stocks. I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. And nationally, they're trying to do a bump stock ban through the Senate that didn't even mention bump stocks at all, but banned potentially all semi-autos. Like, that's why I said at the very beginning, a lot of you live in Michigan, a lot of you don't. This is coming to your city, coming to your hometown, your state. This is the national, and to be honest, it's the international agenda. That's what this is. Thanks, Paul. The task force shall provide written reports to the governor and the department as follows. An initial report, no later than 180 days from the first meeting of the task force. A final report, no later than 180 days after the initial report described in Section 2. Additional reports may be provided as necessary and relevant to the overall objectives and goals of the task force. The department shall assist the task force in the performance of its duties. So the Department of Health and Human Services, yet again, they shall assist the task force. Okay. In the performance of its duties, the budget, procurement, and related management functions of the task force shall be performed under the direction and supervision of the director of the department. The task force shall timely adopt procedures and policies consistent with Michigan law and this order. So I read this as there's more gun control happening, right? I mean, that's literally what it said earlier. But also procedures and policies. Now, there was no law passed 4 years ago that said it was illegal to cut grass in Michigan. And there was no law class that said it was passed that said it was illegal to get your hair cut. However, we had a barber arrested. We had many people arrested just for like trying to do their jobs. So under this current government we have, and certainly under this exact governor, we've seen in not so distant past where just rules and edicts can be enough to take people's livelihood away and put them under arrest and take them to jail. So laws are one thing, which is completely and utterly unconstitutional to pass, to sign into law. But it's actually even worse than that because you don't even get to vote on policies and procedures. What's happening, Matt Morrison? How you doing, man? I frequently see you saying hi when I reread the chat over the weekend, but nice to be able to say hi to you in person. Matt Morrison's been watching this channel a long time, guys. Literally as long as anybody. So nice to see you, man. I hope you're doing good. Now, here's one thing. The task force shall comply with the Freedom of Information Act. So we can put out FOIA requests and see what they're up to. I guess that's good, right? Shouldn't even be any task force to have to do requests on, obviously. The task force may select a secretary from among its members for the purposes of record keeping. Department shall staff assist. The department staff shall assist the secretary with record keeping responsibilities as needed. So this is costing you even more money. All of these people work for us. Your state representative works for you. Your state senator works for you. Your county commissioner, your trustee. These people get paid. Like they literally work for you. And you guys need to remind them of that. The fact that there's not many Michigan representatives at all talking about this right now is kind of getting on my nerves a little bit, to be honest with you. I'll show you guys one that is right here. For some of you that don't like X, which I told you guys is where I posted this earlier, maybe you like Facebook. Maybe you don't, but that's okay. I posted this on there yesterday. The Michigan Ministry of Gun Control has been created. I tagged a couple reps in here, a couple senators in here. Michigan Republican Party, Great Lakes Gun Rights candidate here. And I've got a response right here. Like I said, there's a reason she's the best one right here. State Representative Jamie Thompson. What do you guys think of that? Nice and simple. She said, ban executive orders. See, I'm basically sitting here thinking for a minute like, well, this part looks like it's unconstitutional. This part, all of it is. And she just cut right to the chase. That's why she's the representative and I'm not. And for good reason. She just said, let's just ban executive orders, period. That's actually not even like a novel concept. You guys do know that if it becomes the will of the people, people get off their butts enough and get enough constitutionally minded, this is very important, legislators that can take a super majority in the Michigan House and the Michigan Senate. Good thing is these elections happen fast. Every 2 years, the reps have to rerun again. And then every other cycle, the senators run. They don't stay in power that long. If you could get enough good ones in there, they could actually change the Constitution of Michigan to ban executive orders. I'll give you a real quick example. Just saying, because it's true. If we had 100 Jamie Thompsons in the Michigan House right now, cloning's kind of creepy, and I don't suggest we literally clone her, but I would if I could, just long enough to get rid of all this crap. If there was 100 Jamies in the Michigan House, all right, and we'll just fill the whole Senate chamber up with her too, and they voted, they could literally vote to get rid of executive actions, executive orders, like right now. And if it had a veto-proof majority, the governor couldn't even stop it. So it's like when she says ban executive orders, yeah, that's like going straight to the throat. And if enough people actually wanted that to happen, that actually could happen. State Representative Mike Harris has chimed in, who I have an excellent relationship with and who I've been talking about a lot of stuff that's brewing behind the scenes right now as far as gun control in Lansing. He says, we will keep fighting, and I appreciate that. And Representative Harris has had an excellent voting record on the Second Amendment, and he's a very, very good rep. He's actually one of my favorites. He can't be my favorite, though, because my state rep's my favorite. So, but we'll say he's one of my favorites. I do like Mike. So there you guys go. The task force shall meet at the call of the chairperson and as otherwise provided by the internal procedures the task force shall adopt. I mean, this is crazy. It goes on and on. I mean, the task force may establish advisory work groups. It may, as appropriate, make inquiries, conduct studies, hold hearings, and receive comments from the public, and may hire or retain contractors. I told you guys this was. What do you think? Is this a money laundering scheme too? The task force may hire or retain contractors, subcontractors, advisors, consultants, and agents. Ooh. That just has like a creepy sound to it. And agents? Are you listening to this, Ron? I saw my friend Ron Maddie in here. Dude, check this out. See, this is where, and this is what they hope. This is why a lot of people have gone to sleep. But 2A EDU, I can't read. Where's the link? Some people have tapped out, but there's a reason we go through all this, because this is important. This is literally hidden in here. The task force may hire or retain contractors, subcontractors, advisors, consultants, and agents. I thought we lived in a representative constitutional republic. What's this? And may make and enter into contracts necessary or incidental to the exercise of the powers of the task force and the performance of its duties as the chairperson deems advisable and necessary. So a chairperson of this unelected, how is this is getting funded, Ron? I've got to call my state rep again. Wow. I'm not going to call her after this stream, but geez, oh, Pete. How many times, guys, should I keep calling my state representative? Like, who's funding this? Jeez, oh, Pete. Like, I like my state representative and she's friends, but I don't call any of my friends this much. But my state's in trouble right now, and this whole country's in trouble. And this is coming to a state near you or your state, guys. I know a lot of people are like, whew, good thing I live in the great state of fill in the blank. And good for you for living there, because I love all these other states. And I want you guys to be you. And I'm so happy for those of you who have less tyrannical governments in your states. But this is the national and international agenda. So keep your ears to the ground, guys. Keep your ears to the ground. Dude, like, seriously, you guys are so awesome if you live in, like, Florida, Alabama, okay? I'm thinking of these states where it's just like super duper Republicans, but there's lots of rhinos in Florida in the legislature, not the people that live there. The people in Florida are like pretty diehard, like they call it the gunshine state. But Lots of rhinos there. Watch out is what I'm telling you guys. My friends in states like that. People in South Carolina, North Carolina. North Carolina governor was doing some weird stuff lately. I mean, you know what I mean? Great state though, but watch out. Because this is a national agenda. As the chairperson deems advisable and necessary, consistent with this order and applicable law, rules, and procedures, and subject to available funding. Where's the money coming from? They can hire contractors, subcontractors, advisors, consultants, and agents to come after your guns? Yeah. Wow. Whew. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. Tour de Lance. He gets what I mean. Chime in, guys. You guys know what I'm talking about. North Carolina has a terrible governor, but the lieutenant governor is pretty good. And everyone else, we're going to vote him out. Good job. Good job. But you at least know where to watch for. See, I wasn't wrong, was I? Even in all of these different states, you got to watch. There's always somebody up to no good. But, well, there's a lot of people that are definitely no good in Michigan. Here's someone from Michigan who's definitely a good person. What's happening, Michelle Duke? How you doing? Nice to see you. Some of us hung out with Michelle last fall, and she's cool as heck. We're literally just talking about this crazy Ministry of Gun Control where there's like, who's funding this? Oh, it's like, gotta call my state rep, my state senator again. Dude, I call these people all the time. I'm gonna have to buy more minutes on this phone. Jeez, oh Pete, I gotta go buy another phone card to put more minutes on this darn thing. Just I'm having to call my state rep and senator and county commissioners. Was just talking to him the other day. One of my county commissioners. I mean, geez, oh Pete. I'm gonna have to run up to the gas station, write Yellow Dog, and get me another phone card for more minutes having to call these people so much. Because this is crazy. Yellow Dog, thank you, sir, for being a channel member and for the super chat. He says, good to see you, brother. Well, nice to see you too. And I would totally rather have, look at his avatar, guys, the Department of Sasquatch Research, the DSR of Michigan. Like, I would trust them like way more than I could possibly trust this here, whatever the heck it is. See, I'm so many pages into it. This Ministry of Gun Control, we're going to call it. I think the twos had it earlier when we took that little vote there. Speaking of Representative Jamie Thompson, if you guys want to give her a shout out and support, I did put her website right down there in the description, so definitely check that out. I'm going to post like an awesome video. She literally sent me this video that's like super awesome. I just didn't physically have time to get it into my computer for this stream tonight, but check out my channel tomorrow. You're going to like that. And of course, if you go over to my Facebook, and you can see where she commented there, and follow her Facebook page as well. Because we're going to have to see if she can find out where this money's coming from. The task force may accept donations of labor, services, or other things of value from any public or private agency or person. Hold on a minute. Dun, 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 dun. Here comes the NGOs. You can't make this up. This is probably the part of this order that bores so many people. But I knew there's a reason we had to read it from till the end. The task force may accept donations of labor, services, or other things of value from any public or private agency or person, right? Any donations must be received and used subject to and in accordance with the law. Members of the task force must not receive additional compensation for participation on the task force. Members of the task force may receive reimbursement. Oh my gosh, is this a money grab? Members of the task force may receive reimbursement for necessary travel and expenses consistent with applicable law, rules, and procedures subject to available funding. So we're going to be seeing George Soros and hanging out in Michigan a lot more, and in all 50 states a lot more, because they're literally trying to get this everywhere. Barry Sullivan says, 2A Mike Harris is my state representative. Well, dude, here's the thing. Mike's a good dude. Send him an email. If you have his phone number, send him a text. Get a hold of him and say, look, dude, I was watching the 2A EDU stream. We gave you a shout out. The 2A EDU crowd likes you, Mike. And then ask him, say, Mike, can you get to the bottom of where this funding's coming from and where it's going? Let's get some of these reps on this. See, one other quick thing I wanted to digress just for a minute. You guys don't mind it when I go off script a little bit, do you? I don't have a script actually, but this is just this stuff, which is very treacherous. But we'll read it in a minute. If you guys want to know why I talk about reps a lot, and I do mention senators, and they're the upper chamber of your state government as well as the legislature of the United States. It's because reps, their sole purpose, look at the founding of this country. The sole purpose of the reps was, and it's still supposed to be, to represent we the people. We the people are supposed to be represented in the United States Congress, and our interests, like literally just regular people like you and me, our interests are supposed to be represented by the House of Representatives. And there's more representatives than there are senators because they're supposed to be living closer to their constituents. You're supposed to be able to happen to run across or schedule an appointment with and be able to actually talk face to face with your representatives, certainly on the state level and actually on the United States level too. That's why I always call it, in terms of an endearment, even though it's a crazy place right now, it's called the People's House. Because we are not a democracy. A democracy is two wolves voting against one sheep on what's for dinner. And democracy is mob rule, and it's tyranny of the majority, and it's 51% of the people putting the other 49% into shackles. No, we are a constitutional meaning the Constitution shall be the supreme law of the land, representative republic. That means in the state of Michigan, in Michigan's 28th district, me, and the 90,000 people that my state representative serves at the pleasure of, she goes there to represent the interests of her constituents, her neighbors, people that live in her hometown and surrounding small towns. And that's what her duty is, and that's what her job is. And that's what all of your representatives' duties and jobs are. Now, when the country was founded, we have the Senate. The Senate was actually, now this is totally different than it is now. That's why I was very clear earlier. And I know you guys are thinking, what about this amendment? What about that amendment? And it's okay. You guys can disagree with me, and you can even be mad at me if you want for saying this, because some of it's like, oh, are you serious? No, I actually am. We started losing this country after the 10th Amendment because a lot of stuff started changing really, really fast. See, originally, state legislators voted for the United States senators. The governor could throw them appointees, and then they would vote on, and they would elect your senators, which actually added even more importance and power to your state legislators, right? That's changed now, and now senators are elected as just a straight democracy, just popular vote throughout your state. One runs against the other one for any one of the two seats. They're very rarely up for election at the same time. There can be special elections, but they're usually staggered. But yeah, you'll have a Democrat and a Republican, and you can have a Libertarian and whatever, but the way our two-party system, which is very corrupt, by the way, very corrupt, and I don't really have any party that I align with. It really ain't no home for a guy like me in the political world. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's just the reality. But only a Republican or a Democrat can pretty much win when it comes to the presidency for sure, and most of the time on the state level. Although on the state level, we can have independents win, and sometimes in the United States Congress we can. So there is hope for third parties there, and I'm very encouraged by that. But pretty much most of the time, There's a Republican versus a Democrat, and it's mob rule. The 51% of the people vote for, and then, hey, they're going to tread on the Second Amendment whether people like it or not. But the senators' jobs were to actually represent the interest of the state to the United States federal government. And if you think about it, there is a difference there. There's a big difference there. The representatives were to represent we the people, and the senators would go to represent the interest of the state. And it's very important to have a Senate because we are supposed to be these United States of America, not the United States of America, but these United States of America, meaning the plural United States. And it sounds kind of like semantics, but it's actually not. We're not supposed to be the supreme, unilateral, authoritarian federal government of the United States of America. It's supposed to be these United States. All 50 may be united, but the states are supposed to be delegated more power than the federal government. And the senators would go to represent the state and its interests, which is important if you're going to have the many states that we do. And then the representative is supposed to represent the people. Did you guys know that? Horsepower Greed says, I give everyone permission to stay up past their bedtime. Nevada Memes for Liberty says, 100% agree. What's up, Denny Wilson? What's up, Gort? Nice to see you. What's up, Fire Rotter? Seeing who's in the chat here. Political, what's up? Lori Dickin, whatever happened to the good old tar and feathering? I don't know. Curious. What's up, Scott B? How you doing, man? Nice to see you. Been a while since I've been on. I apologize. Hopefully you're good, man. Nice to see you. What do you guys think? Hope you're doing good, Scott B. I recognize you as being a guy that's been around this channel. You know, sometimes you come, sometimes you go. That's how things work, but I've seen you around for a long time, man. Members of the task force must refer all legal, legislative, and media contacts to the department. Ooh, so you won't even be able to talk to them directly. You have to go through the department? Where's this money coming from? Where's this money going to go? And it's signed by yours truly. You know what I mean? Yours truly, we call her. Oh, boy, I like to keep this channel family friendly. Woo! Congratulations on the baby boy, Scott B. Political says, hey, man, I love that you're into the nitty-gritty details of this stuff because my brain has the dumb when it comes to government structure. Well, I like talking about this because it's important to actually really think about the fundamentals, and that's the purpose of all of my streams. Now, it's kind of funny, like, not what you said, but it's just kind of funny or ironic. It's kind of funny that earlier in the stream, there was a bunch of people that's like, dude, just read it to us. Just read it word for word to us as fast as you can. And I'm like, guys, you'll have to go to like the kindergarten channels to learn to read. We're not here just to like read something to you because there's a lot more important things to talk about here. And this is what our constitutional representative republic is turning into right before our eyes, certainly here in Michigan. And on the federal level, there's a task force like this, and they're going to try to bring this into all 50 states. I'm not saying they're going to be successful everywhere. Whether they're successful in your particular home state or not, that's actually up to you guys. Now, I'm going to go over this Supreme Court case just a little bit and tell you about a couple things that's brewing in Michigan right now. But I do want to remind you guys about my locals community, which is another channel, completely censorship-free, and also Myriad Social. And I want to give a quick shout-out to RPM, which is Rockville Precision Munitions. And for more information about them, because we are on YouTube right now, check out my locals community. It's free to join, or it's a place you can support. And one more thing, In case you guys missed it or just haven't seen all the streams lately, this is my infinity target. The link's down in the description. You can check it out. They have a huge selection. This is a self-healing rubber target. Like, you can shoot this thing like over 100 times per square inch, and the rubber will heal, close back up. You just paint over it again, and awesome reusable target. Now, this is a huge one, but they sell many different sizes. And I noticed the coupon code for their Father's Day sale is still working. So check the link down in the description for that. And you can actually like save a lot right now. And I highly recommend the Infinity Targets. And you'll save quite a bit of money by using that code. And if you use my link, it will help the channel just a little bit. So I appreciate that. I'm in Michigan. Let's go. Let's just finish up with a couple quick things in Michigan. Then we're going to talk about this Rahimi Supreme Court case and how there's a couple things that have been said right at the very beginning of this. I'm not going to read you guys the whole Rahimi case, all right? But just right here in the beginning is all we need to read and talk about for a few minutes before the stream's over tonight. Speaking of all of our favorite state representative, there she is. Jamie Thompson says, Jamie Thompson for state representative, which the link to that website is down in the description as well, says, I bet she puts that on the budget for 2025 that we vote on next week. Just like the Capitol gun ban with all of the cameras was forced into that budget, right? Can you tell us where you're at on the budget, Jamie? Not to put you on the spot, but I am putting you on the spot. And if you can't tell us yet, that's fine, because I understand you haven't read it yet. But what do you think? Are you looking forward to this budget? Here's what you guys should tell all your legislators, by the way. This is across all 50 states. This is national level. This is state level. If they ever have a bill they don't have time to read, they better vote no. I'm serious. That should be every legislator's policy in this whole country. Let me know if you guys agree with that. Look, if they give them, I've literally heard legislators use this as a cop-out in the past. They'll say, well, it was so thick and they handed it to us like minutes before we voted. And like, I voted yes, I guess. Not Jamie, not her, but just other legislators have said this. They're like, well, I had to vote it. And then after I got a chance to read it, I wish I wouldn't have. I think that's a good call to action. Call your legislators, wherever the heck they're at. I'm trying to get you guys used to calling your legislators, all right? A lot of them would be like literally surprised they're even getting a call. They're like, what lobbying firm are you with? Oh, wait. You're so-and-so down the road? You guys are going to think I'm joking, but if you have a good state rep that actually cares about their people, once they literally find out Joe Blow down the road's on the phone and there's an important issue, a lot of them will be like, dude, do you want to go grab a pop? Do you want to go get some coffee? Do you want to go grab a hot dog? They'll say, I'll be at the parade this weekend. I'll be at such and such as coffee house. I mean, like literally, like, you guys need to be getting a hold of, especially on the local level. These public servants, I don't even like calling them politicians. They're elected to serve you, and you guys need to get a hold of them and say little things like that to them. Be like, if you can't read the bill, you just vote no, right? The reason I brought all that up and went on that tangent is these budget bills are often so thick they can't even read them. How could anyone in their right mind? Midwest Logger, what's happening, man? Dude, look. Midwest Logger, how could anybody vote for anything that they haven't read yet? Like, these people are insane. What's happening, G23? James Kawasaki, Raw 77, Pillbox again. Nice people in the chat tonight. Wow. Good looking people too. Midwest Logger. Jamie says I'm a no on the budget. Thank you. Thank you very much, actually. Look, guys, you can put them on the spot. You know what I mean? We just did. Representative, where are you on the budget? Not to put you on the spot, but you know what I mean? I literally just put her on the spot. Ask her if we're still friends. Say, Representative, are you and 2AE? Do you still friends? I think we are. G23, no, hell no on the budget. Dude, like, I don't even need to know what the budget says. If it just says the word budget on the top of it at this point, I'm like, no. Right? Just call up your rep and say no on the budget. And if they're like, what budget? Be like, excuse me. And then find somebody good like in their district to primary him or whatever. Okay, let's see what the representative has to say. They cram nonsense every time. Yeah. We know some stuff, but the final appropriations will not come out until likely the night before we vote, if we are lucky. We need to fundamentally get like good people in, first of all. We got to get the good people first, and good people like you guys have to stop doing nothing. And we're talking Michigan right now, but we're talking all 50 states. This is all the same thing everywhere. We need people not just to get in there and say, slow down a little bit, Democrats. We need to completely and utterly fundamentally change the way these governments are running. That's preposterous, just to throw a bunch of extra crap in there. And then the night before, likely, she's giving a hypothetical because you have to wait and see what happens this time. But you know the drill. And I've heard this so often. And on the federal level, it's actually even worse. I remember when Rand Paul came in one time to do a press conference. Shout out to the great state of Kentucky, Rand Paul. I'm a big fan. I like Ron Paul a lot, but he's not currently serving in office anymore, but serving his country in other ways. Shout out to Dr. Ron Paul and Rand Paul. Dr. Rand Paul, he came in there and he had, look, Senator Doctor, it was like a wagon full of all these documents. And he's like, this is the bill that they literally just dropped. And we have to vote on this in like 40 minutes. It literally took a radio flyer wagon to carry all the sheets of paper in there. They're like, yeah, we have to vote on this in 40 minutes. What's at stake? Oh, the whole funding for the whole country. It's like, and then Rand Paul took the United States tax code, which they had to use a forklift, and it was like a pallet. Do you guys remember that? It was a video that was out back then that he posted. It was a pallet, a literal pallet, full of paper, and he goes, this is the United States tax code, and then he shot it. You guys remember that? That was pretty cool. You know what we should do? Why don't you guys go over to Jamie Thompson's site down in the description? Maybe we have somebody as rich as George Soros watching. I'm hoping that's the case, okay? And I don't work for her campaign, by the way, at all, guys. This is just completely all my opinion, unsolicited by her or anyone else. I'd like to get enough money donated to her campaign where we could have her go out to a range and like put the whole Michigan budget and shoot that with like an AR or something. That would be pretty cool. I'd like to do a fundraiser like that. And that's just literally me making that up as I go. But I like literally love that idea already. Like, dude, when Rand Paul did that, though, do you guys remember that? Tell me somebody remembers that. And I'm not even from Kentucky, even though I know lots of people that are. He went out there and he just shot up the whole IRS tax code. And I cheered. I sat there from the internet and cheered because that's just the American spirit. And certainly, if we had 100 people in the United States Senate like Rand Paul, we probably wouldn't have an IRS at all. And if we had 100 people in the House like Jamie Thompson, well, we wouldn't have a task force because we wouldn't have executive orders anymore, which would be excellent. How's it going, Randy Smith? Nice to see you. Yeah, it's called the poison pill. She's saying it sucks because there are good things in there, and then I have to vote no because the bad outweighs the good. Well, that's what they do. And that's why it's called a tough vote. And that's why your job's like super rewarding in so many ways. And that's why your job sucks in so many ways. And that's why when we have people who will stand behind what's right and wrong, you need to get behind them with moral encouragement, words of encouragement. It's unfortunate that it's this way, but with encouragement of money, your local people that are fighting the good fight needs your help in the court of public opinion. Because what's going to happen is this. There's going to be something in there that says puppies are cute and we're going to donate some extra money to some of our disabled veterans. And we're going to name a bridge off of somebody that was completely beautiful and wonderful. And then they're going to have all this woke complete nonsense that completely infringes on all your natural rights. Jamie has to vote no. Okay. It's her duty to vote no. She's doing what she was elected to do. And then you know what's going to happen? The other side's going to blast the crap out of her. And in her case, this is important to think about. She's in the second closest House district in the whole state of Michigan. Literally, she won by the second narrowest margin. She won by like less than 800 votes, guys. And they're going to literally be blasting her all over the place because the left controls the media and the narrative. And they're going to say, Jamie Thompson doesn't think puppies are cute, even though she's like a total dog lover. Go to her house and you'll know that within minutes. Right, Ron? And then they're going to be like, Jamie doesn't back the disabled veterans, even though she like totally does and like loves veterans and people who serve. And she doesn't like the sweetest person ever because she didn't vote for the funding to put their name on the bridge. And that's literally what they'll post. Like, that's how this works. Jamie Thompson hates puppies because she voted no on taking all your guns away. You know what I mean? That's how this works. Wait, Jamie said deal. Ooh. Let's see what we can do, guys. I'm going to put out that video that she did tomorrow on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to put that link in there. And in my opinion, that would be cool if we could get her to do that. Have you seen anybody do that before? Like on the local level? I actually haven't. Rick says, ooh, sorry for you, Rick. How's it going, Rick? I hope you're having a good day. Because in my opinion, your rep is not so good. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. Some of you that have been here this long like my stories. Well, I know all of you like my stories. It's just some people are wusses and lightweights and have to go to bed. Give me a break. Real men don't have a bedtime. Now, Novi has the worst representation. So this would be Chairman Kelly Breen. Don't know what she identifies as. Has no clue. Remember the Supreme Court justice? What's a woman? She's like, I don't know. Nobody could possibly know. You know what I mean? Remember, I think her name was Jumanji, something like that. She's on the Supreme Court. She voted against our Second Amendment in the Supreme Court case, by the way. But they said, what's a woman? She said, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist. Kelly Breen, I have no clue because I am also not a biologist. I'm not a scientist. I have no idea. Have no idea. So there you go. So when it was the chairman of the committee, when they were passing these gun control bills all the way up through that are now laws, Dr. John Lott, the one that I mentioned earlier, the most widely respected statistician who has the most accurate facts pertaining to the Second Amendment, what these people would call gun violence. And he's the one that will literally show you and prove to you in his book, More Guns, Less Crime. He cites things like in all of the schools where they have staff and or teachers armed, there's never been a school shooting during school hours. He cites the real stats, like there's many, many more instances of a good guy stopping a bad guy with a gun than there is the other way around. But this so-called Kelly Breen, they call her many things. I promised a few people I'd be very polite tonight. So we're going to be very polite. And we'll just say the person of the... Look, I don't know, guys. I'm not a biologist or a scientist. How could I possibly know what it is? It was the chairman for the... And it was very, very disrespectful to Dr. John Lott, who literally came all the way across the country to testify with very, very compelling testimony. And she allowed him to be interrupted and ridiculed. And that's when I knew that day that it wasn't just a matter anymore of some people just having a little bit of political differences. I realized we have a lot of really, really rude people that, in my opinion, have no class running this state. I know that's going on a lot all over the place. I mean, he's like an older guy. He's like kind of a real dry personality. You know what I mean? And but like a genius. And he's just sitting there reading through his things for his testimony. So trust me, Rick, I know all about what you're talking about, actually. I know more about this topic than I'd like to. These people are not good. Good night, Mateo. Take it easy, man. I wish you the best of luck with your project, your endeavors tomorrow. Like, crossing my fingers for you. Barry Sullivan, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like I said, this channel would be more popular if I just talked about Donald Trump all day and the current former vice president. But look, that matters clearly, but I like to talk about stuff that matters more. State and local level. Yes, that's where it starts. Grassroots is a beautiful thing, but grassroots can be a chaotic tornado thing too. But yeah, look, you got to try things out and stop doing stuff that doesn't work, like gun violence prevention task forces that don't reduce any violence at all. I'll read this real quickly here. Two quick things. Bump stock ban. We still haven't seen it be officially submitted yet, but I call her Senator Polahanky. They call her many things. Someone the other day was like 2A EDU. It's pronounced a little bit different than that. Look, guys, I'm not a doctor. I don't even know how to read very well, as like one or two people tried to tell me earlier tonight. But they were just joking, and we're still friends, trust me. Those guys were just joking, and they actually like me more now than they did before. But look, I'm not good with this stuff. I'm a landscaper. So I call her Polahanky, okay? Senator Polahanky has requested a bump stock ban bill. That's literally out of her own words. And I have a feeling there's some Republican legislators that might actually go along with that. So if you do live in Michigan, definitely get a hold of all of them on that preemptively, because once they make up their minds, it can be sometimes pretty impossible to change it. I also think there's probably some Republicans in Lansing, I would say even a little higher chance than probably, that don't think that the bump stock's a big deal, and they think it's just an accessory and it might not even be protected under the Second Amendment at all. If I had to guess, just knowing how a few people are, they probably might think that too. Here's the problem. First of all, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. To bear a rifle, you need a stock. And if you're only allowed to have some stocks, but not other stocks, that would be the literal definition of an infringe. So literally the bump stock, point source, exactly what it is. If you ban it, that's by sheer definition of an infringement, obviously. Second of all, that won't be what it really is all about. It'll be very similar, if I had to guess, to a bill that we saw try to get passed by unanimous consent in the U.S. Senate. Now, it probably won't be as articulate as that because, like I said, guys, family-friendly channel. They call her many things. The Senator Polahanky, who knows what she's going to say? I mean, it's spelled like Polehanki, Polahanky. And like Southpaw said, they do call her many things. What's up, Dale? How you doing, man? This is where it's tough. And some of my Republican friends get mad at me when I do this. But look, dude, I'm a nice guy. But, like, I'm a 2A absolutist. And that's what you get with a guy like me. We have to call him out. Matt Hall, the minority leader, has voted for gun control. And once you burn me like that, I would put him right at the top of my suspect list. Hey, it is what it is, Matt. I don't think he watches this channel anymore. I think he still does, and he actually likes the channel, but he can't admit that he watches it because I wanted to like this guy. You know what I mean? But it's hard because he voted for gun control. So he would be on my suspect list. You know what I mean, Dale? And that's just the way that works. But it'll probably be a ban on anything that increases the rate of fire and a super slippery slope. So keep your head on a swivel. But 2A EDU, is there going to be an assault weapons ban in Michigan? It's actually probably getting closer and closer by the day with what happened recently in Rochester Hills. They still bring up Oxford every day. They still bring up Michigan State every day. They still bring up Columbine almost every day. I mean, these people are sick. Literally tomorrow, make sure your notifications are on. I'm going to drop a video from like the awesomest representative ever, Michigan State Representative Jamie Thompson, who was hanging out in the chat earlier. And she actually has pretty much all of it figured out, in my opinion. That's why I'm excited to share that video with you. But everybody isn't as smart as she is, unfortunately. And there's one that, in my opinion, not the brightest bulb, not the shiniest coin in the pocket. This next guy I'm going to talk about, probably not the sharpest tool in the shed. It might be a couple cards short of a full deck. And not even very good looking either. His name's Noah Arbit. Anyone worried about him? Anyone heard about him? Well, you should be worried about him because he's in the Democrat majority. And he literally came out with a bold face on his X, on his Twitter, and said, ban assault weapons now. I mean, look, does that mean we're going to see an assault weapons ban bill on the governor's desk tomorrow? Not necessarily. But this is a very influential member of the Michigan House of Representatives. I mean, he'd have to climb up on about 3 or 4 bookcases to talk to you, but he's, you know what I mean? Not a very cute little guy either. Just kind of a, and this is all in my opinion. Some guy like him will come out there. But you defamed me. No, sorry, sweetheart. You ran for public office. It's funny. Every once in a while, there'll be a politician. You can't make fun of me. Oh, of course I can. I have a First Amendment protected rights. And like, it's especially pertinent to calling out people that work for you, that serve the public on the taxpayer's dollar. Like, you can call them out more than anybody. Some of these people are kind of funny. I said, in my opinion, I'm sure somebody loves you, sweetheart, out there. It's okay. Somebody might like you. I doubt it, but somebody might like you out there. No, but literally called for AWB in boldface. Oh boy. What's up, Stephen S? Nice to see you, man. Okay, Supreme Court. This one was a loss. And like I said, I haven't had a chance to read everything, but this is tough. This is the Rahimi case. And this has to do with somebody that like has a restraining order out against them or a PPO, things like that. And I also believe red flag laws are going to be tied into this. So basically, when you haven't been convicted of something through due process of law, can your guns be taken away? Even if it's for a temporary period of time. I say no. The founding fathers obviously said no because they wrote shall not be infringed. However, 8-1, which I'll cut to the chase. Literally everybody on the Supreme Court, except for Clarence Thomas, said they actually can. And in my opinion, right here, they actually weakened the Bruin decision, which sucks. I'm just going to read a little bit of this, and then we're going to jump off in a second. Respondent, Zaki Rahimi, was indicted under 18 U.S.C. 922 G8, a federal statute that prohibits individuals subject to a domestic violence restraining order from possessing a firearm. Now remember, there's a difference between due process of law versus an allegation where many times the person actually wasn't guilty. They're actually innocent. It's a much lower threshold. You can have ex parte hearings for restraining orders, for red flag orders. That's what's important about this. I know immediately people think, well, of course, if a dude beat his wife. Look, if somebody committed a real crime, charge them for a real crime and get them the heck out of society if they're that violent. Through due process of law, though. That's the key. Through due process of law. You cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So these PPOs that have been abused in many cases, and extreme risk protection orders, ERPOs, red flag laws, these are big constitutional problems that are way further reaching than just the Second Amendment. A prosecution under Section 922G8 may proceed only if the restraining order meets certain statutory criteria. In particular, the order must either contain a finding that the defendant represents a credible threat to the physical safety of his intimate partner or his partner's child. Now, I don't know why it's his and not hers. These women all want to be equal. Why can't a woman be charged under this? I mean, it does just say his. There are women out there that physically abuse their partner too, right? I'm just reading what it says. It says his. I'm all for equal protection under the law. And I think this should affect women too if they're abusive, by the way. But whatever. I don't want to get off on that tangent too much. That's not necessarily a 2A issue, but it literally says of his partner or his partner's child. So there we go. I guess a law that only affects men, apparently. That's bullcrap. The attempted use, or threatened use of physical force against these individuals. Rahimi concedes here that the restraining order against him satisfies the statutory criteria, but argues that on its face, Section 922G8 violates the Second Amendment. The district court denied Rahimi's motion to dismiss the indictment on Second Amendment grounds. While Rahimi's case was on appeal, the Supreme Court decided New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, Inc. versus Bruin. In light of Bruin, the Fifth Circuit reversed, concluding that the government had not shown that Section 922G8 fits within our nation's historical tradition of firearms regulation. Now, that's what the Fifth Circuit said, and they were taking a strict look. Hey, I'm not the one doing the super pronoun stuff, Patrick. I'm just saying they want to get all into their pronouns. No, you know what I'm saying. You're laughing. But it's like, hey, if they want it to be this way, why is it only if his partner is under threat? That implies to me, I mean, by its plain language, only a man could get convicted of this crime. Which that's just not equal justice under the law. That's what I'm saying. Okay. When an individual has been found by a court to pose a credible threat to the physical safety of another, and the individual may be temporarily disarmed, consistent with the Second Amendment. Now, here's where this is poisoning Bruin and poisoning the Second Amendment, in my opinion. I said hi to you earlier, James Kawasaki. How you doing, man? You guys heard me say hi to him earlier, right? Sometimes people just don't see me say hi or like hear it, but not my fault if you didn't listen well enough. Since the founding, the nation's firearms laws have included regulations to stop individuals who threaten physical harm to others from misusing firearms. As applied to the facts here, Section 922G fits within this tradition. Yeah, they had like surety laws where you could put up a bond to get your guns back, actually. So, not laws like this where they just take. The right to keep and bear arms is among the fundamental rights necessary to our system of order liberty. And that's McDonald v. Chicago. Now, here's something here. Then this was written by all 5 out of the 6 supposed Supreme conservatives on the court and all 3 liberals. Clarence Thomas was the only one that disagreed and dissented. And I hate reading this because this is tough. It says, this right, however, is not unlimited. And this is kind of like me, and I know Mateo already went to bed, but me and Mateo, it's like, dude, we told you so. We brought this up a ton of times. And it's extremely unpopular when I say this, but I'm just going to say it because it is true. I said, yeah, Heller was a great ruling, except there was a poison pill in it by Justice Antonin Scalia when he said the Second Amendment is not unlimited. And it doesn't actually cover certain particularly dangerous and unusual firearms. It certainly doesn't protect a machine gun. That's what supposedly the best Second Amendment justice we've ever had at that time said. Well, now they're literally citing it right now. in a current Supreme Court case that did not go our way. That right, however, in quotes, is not unlimited. District of Columbia v. Heller. So there you go. There was, at that time, one of the best Supreme Court cases ever for the Second Amendment, and there was a lot of good in it. That poison pill just came back to haunt us right there. And they just cited it. And I predicted this stuff years ago. And yeah, I just have to say I was right the whole time, although a lot of people got really mad at me whenever I'd say that. But it's right here. They literally just cited it and used it against us. The reach of the Second Amendment is not limited only to those arms that were in existence at the founding. So that's a good thing. Rather, it extends prima facie to all instruments that can constitute bearable arms, even those that were not yet in existence. By that same logic, the Second Amendment permits more than just regulations identical to those existing in 1791. Look what they just did there. They think this is like really cute. So they're basically saying that since the Second Amendment extends to all instruments that constitute bearable arms, even ones that weren't invented yet, and I agree with that, they're saying by the same logic, the Second Amendment must permit more than just regulations identical to those existing in 1791. So, since Mark Pellegrino says, usually Scalia is treated with reverence. Refreshing to hear otherwise. I'm just saying, man. But think about what they did right there. Like, that's insane what I just read. And this is going to be a slippery slope that is not good at all. They're saying that since the Second Amendment protects guns and other arms that were not yet invented, right? That the Second Amendment also allows gun control that didn't exist in 1791. That's literally what they just said. By the same logic, the Second Amendment permits more than just regulations identical to those existing in 1791. So they just opened the door. Now, this was written by Chief Justice Roberts, but it's fair to say, since they didn't vote against this, that everybody, except for Clarence Thomas, quote unquote, wrote this. Now, to be fair, they wrote concurring opinions where they went on rambling for pages how they differed a little bit with Roberts. But at the end of the day, this is the only one that's case law. The Roberts portion here, the one that they all voted for except for one, except for Clarence Thomas, this is the only one that holds any force in the courts, okay? As precedent, as binding for the lower courts. These other concurring opinions, they can say all day long, I agree with most of what he said, but I don't agree with these, and that's fine. That can be cited by an attorney in a future case, and it could hold some sway with a court. Okay, so I'm not saying all of these other opinions that were lumped in under this, I'm not saying they have no value, but this has the value right here. So all of them liked this, except for Clarence Thomas, because this is the binding precedent-setting case law, which I don't agree with case law. That's a whole other thing. I think the courts have more power than they should, but I digress. And, well, the founding fathers thought the courts currently right now have more power than they should too, actually. If you go back to pre-Marbury v. Madison. Okay, so under our precedent, the appropriate analysis involves considering whether the challenge regulation is consistent with the principles that underpin the nation's regulatory tradition. Bruin, 597 U.S. at 26-31, when firearm regulation is challenged under the Second Amendment, the government must show that the restriction is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearms regulations. But they just said earlier in this Rahimi that as the Second Amendment has evolved to include more firearms, it's also evolved, according to them, to allow more regulations. Regulations more than just the ones that were identical. See the door they opened? A huge door. And maybe all the gun lawyers have already told you guys this. Maybe they haven't. Because for whatever reason, most of these gun lawyers, not all, but most of these gun lawyers skip past the meat and potatoes and only tell you the feel-good stuff of this, but I digress. A court must ascertain whether the new law is relevantly similar, in quotes now, to laws that our tradition is understood to permit, applying faithfully the balance struck by the founding generation to modern circumstances. Why and how the regulations burdens the rights are central to this inquiry. As Bruin explained, a challenge regulation that does not precisely match its historical precursors, quote, still may be analogous enough to pass constitutional muster. They go through to say in the Rahimi case with the particulars of, and the government offered ample evidence that the Second Amendment prohibits such individuals to be disarmed. Now, maybe Rahimi literally, if they would have actually like charged him with a real heavy-duty crime and locked him up, but this is going to have further implications for people that have restraining orders against them that weren't like a really, really bad person like Rahimi. And they go on to talk about, and this is the thing too, they talk about common law, which you should hear my friend Catherine Henry, constitutional attorney Catherine Henry. She'll shred the whole premise of whether we should be under common law in the U.S., which is like old, like British law, when we literally have a Bill of Rights. Like, this is crazy. Yeah, a loading door size bay, Mark Pellegrino saying, yeah, to end run the two-way. I agree. And he was just the right kind of dirtbag to make an acceptable ruling. But these rulings carry precedent. So they basically went back and said, no, the Fifth Circuit got it wrong. The Fifth Circuit said they couldn't find anything that was closely analogous enough to take somebody's free exercise of their natural God-given right away at the founding. So they can't today under Bruin. And now they're saying, well, that's not what Bruin exactly meant. Clearly, as the modern arms today are still protected under the 2A, we can add extra regulation other than what was identical. The leftist activist judges are going to have a field day with this, in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Truly do. I've been hoping I was wrong for the past dozen years that the poison pill that Scalia put in Heller wouldn't come back to get us, but it just got us right here. Like, they literally cited that right there. That right, however, is not limited, according to Scalia, but here's the problem. Who gives a crap about him compared to the founding fathers? The founding fathers of this country literally wrote, shall not be infringed. Now, I get it. Scalia was a pretty important dude, but I don't think he was as important as the people who literally founded this country and wrote the Declaration of Independence and codified it as the supreme law of the land in 1791. I don't think he understands these United States of America better than they did. But all of these judges think they understand more about the country than the country itself does. That's just how this works a lot. It's an interesting topic. So yeah, this is 100 pages long, and I'm going to read just a little bit more. And then I literally only have like one more paragraph because this is the part where you really start. And then if you want to read it all, there's over 100 pages. The court reviewed the history of American gun laws extensively in Heller and Bruin. Really? What historical documentation at the founding did Scalia read when he said, certainly the Second Amendment doesn't protect machine guns? I think some of these guys need to go back and read a little bit more. At common law, people were barred from misusing weapons to harm or menace others. Such conduct was often addressed through ordinary criminal laws and civil actions, such as prohibitions on fighting, or private suits against individuals who threatened others. By the 1700s and early 1800s, see, we're citing this whole common law thing, but to me, since literally like after the Revolutionary War was won, we were not under British common law anymore. Shouldn't the supreme law of these United States of America like hold precedent over the previous King of England's common law? Like, but they're citing common law here for analogous gun control before we were even a country. By the 1700s and early 1800s, though, two distinct legal regimes had developed and specifically addressed firearms violence: the surety laws and the going armed laws. Surety laws were a form of preventative justice. W. Blackstone commentaries on the laws of England, which authorized magistrates to require individuals suspected of future misbehavior to post a bond. If you failed to post the bond, he'd be jailed. If the individual did post a bond and then broke the peace, the bond would be forfeited. But here's the thing. Yes, if that happened and you produced a bond, you got your guns back because you paid the bond. Look, there's wordsmithing going on here. And I'm worried about it. So we will see what happens. We will see what happens with this. But oh boy, did that take a big chunk out of how at least the Fifth Circuit and others were interpreting Bruin. They said, nope. Fifth Circuit, you got Bruin wrong. We're going to reverse you. With Rahimi, we didn't literally mean it actually has to follow the history and tradition of gun control defined in the government. What we really meant is it evolves. It's a living, breathing document. As the time goes on, we can add extra gun control. That's what I literally just read here, and basically the opening preamble of this novel, which I promised you guys I only printed this much. This is all I printed, and I think that's the parts right there that would be excellent to think about. Patrick Fowlers just came in with another super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And a channel member. He said, are you a communist? No, I'm an anti-fascist. For a long time, since I have understood fascism. He said, Ernest Hemingway, for whom the bells toll. That's actually a good one and very germane to a lot of what's going on right now today with the political movements of the United States, for sure. All right, guys, well, I'm going to jump off. I'm going to say bye to a couple of you in the chat on my way out. Make sure you check out the description for cool stuff. And tomorrow, I'm going to work on it tonight, literally when I get off of here, and I should have a cool video that I want to post for you guys because I think that our favorite state representative knocked it out of the park and tackled some deep issues with what the other side calls this so-called gun violence that not really many people want to talk about. So hopefully you'll look forward to that video tomorrow. And I will be doing my local stream tomorrow night. Remember, Locals is a different site, censorship free. Some awesome deals over there. Go check those out tonight while you can still get them. And if you don't want to go to Locals, hey, you're missing out, not me, because I will be over there tomorrow. Check out my myriad.social, and that's also a site that's uncensorable. And I also post some awesome deals and some cool stuff over there as well. All right. Good night, Kurt24. Good night, DLD After Dark, who I didn't see, but I just saw you come in and say good night. And good night, Carbon Spider, Pillbox Bunker, Political, Bill Alexander, and lots of other great people that have probably come and gone tonight, but I will look forward to reading the replay of the chat later. Good night, Dale. Take it easy, man. You guys have a great week as well. If I can get this thing to pop up off of my screen that's literally covering it right now, I would be able to end this live stream. Good night, Rick. Take it easy, man. Good night, Mark. All right. Good night, Rick. Maybe you'll enjoy the replay. We talked about lots of stuff tonight that I hope you will enjoy. Good night, G23, Fire Rotter, Patrick Fellers. There's Mike McClune. What's happening, man? Nice to see you. Good night, Ross. All right. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.